Welcome to the Yankee Show. No more disappointment going on this year. Mr. Yankee is live on the air. For his floral designs, he is so damn fine. We have one hell of a time. He will blow your dynamite. He's coming now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone around the world, put your hands together for Mr. That's Mr. Yan Skates to you.
Welcome back, my friends. Last episode of the Yan Show was about my dyed flowers. This episode is about dead or dying flowers. I've got a very lovely artist called Jason McGlade who was rescued by art, and his art is about drying flowers and then photographing them on a superficial level, but it's much deeper than that. I've got Carolyn Dunbar, who is an expert in the field. She's gonna tell us a bit about how she dries and how she's just used them for very personal projects. And then we've got one of the most famous people to do installation art with dried flowers, Rebecca Louise Law, giving us a few pearls of wisdom. So it's a great show, and if you think that dead or dried flowers is not a colorful affair, you'll be very surprised. Right, we're in 46 Gallery, and this is Jason. Hello, Jason.
Hello.
How are you?
Good?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell us about all these fabulous things. I'm going to do a quick spin.
Yeah. Did you get the two fabulous girls?
Oh yes, oh yes. I'm checking out all the talent here.
Well, the first thing I want to show you is these beautiful flowers that Jan provided.
Me!
And basically we've got an exhibition of portraits and still life flower arrangements.
What's the name of the show?
Dead Flowers, New Faces. And yeah,
We have to be in this room. It's my favorite room in here. It's so beautiful.
This is my mum and dad.
All right. Hello, Mom and Dad.
Looking to place my red dot.
Are you, mum?
All right. This is a
My mum's got a red dot because I know she doesn't look it, but it was her 70th birthday just the other day, so she's got a red
All
dot.
right.
She can put it on anything she wants.
Oh, from you. Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. That's brilliant. But hasn't your mum already got 600 of your works all over the house?
Mainly freestyle magazines. Yeah.
So, you don't know this, but I'm obsessively collecting still life art.
I do know that actually, yeah, because I know you bought a nice painting from one of the other shows of a flower arrangement.
All right.
Is that true?
That is true. That is true. That's very true. And I'm always looking for sort of new ways of showing flowers as art.
Mm-hmm.
So this is obviously right up my Strasse. What brought this about? You told me something about your shed, and there was something about building the shed, and
Yeah. So I was a fashion photographer for many years. Worked in all over the world, and then at 26 I started having seizures during shoots and stuff, and you know. I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and I had that for lots of years, and I did during those years I worked as I could. Anyway, I had a very long spell in hospital, and for 6 months in the hospital I fantasized about building a shed so I could tackle a still life project. So my practice is lots of portraits. I like to talk to people, meet people, learn from them. But it was a project I thought I don't know. I thought first I build something and then I start to see if I can work like this. And the first thing I did was go build a shed, which took me a few months, but very beautiful, with like a pitch pine floor, stained glass windows, really beautiful shed. And then I got set up, and then I would go to Covent Garden Flower Market and raid the bins for all the flowers and hang them in my shed. And I had this beautiful smell every morning. I would go in, and as I was working, building my shed, getting the flowers, thinking about still life, my seizures, I wasn't having any seizures, and I would have them every day for years. And so I kept going, and now I haven't had a seizure for 6 years. And actually this work in the exhibition is 6 years work. So there's like a very strong link between the process, the practice, and actually my mental well-being, and my family's too. And yeah, so that's the show.
I mean, I'm not a medical expert at all, but do you think the process somehow rewired you or something?
Yeah, I think, well, aside from my girl got pregnant and we had a first daughter, I've got two girls now, and I think that my brain said you can't be a dad with little kids and be having 20 seizures in a day, you know, so and also just being in the hospital, focusing on my mind. I was thinking about building this shed, and then it led from one thing to the next. And so I found these Polaroids, and I was just 10. They don't make them anymore. And someone asked me to make a blog about this packet of film. So I said, well, what am I going to do with it? It's so precious. And I started photographing first a stuffed fox, and I would take some flowers from the garden. I was trying to understand what can you photograph that's so precious, and I came to the flowers, and then naturally I came to the people and the new faces. This is a reference a little bit to my fashion history. You know, as a fashion photographer, you strive to photograph top models, not new faces, like I did. And then all of a sudden I realised, wow, because I had a lot of some new faces pictures. I think I put the Polaroid next to one. This girl, these two, and I was like, that's the project. That's the project. And I got an opportunity to work in Kunsthaus, and I was like an artist in residence there. And what I did is I did these flower arrangements on bare concrete walls. For me, I know gentrification sucks, I've been in a million studios, moved around, moved out of places, you know, but that's why I did these flowers on concrete. It's gentrification, it's progress in a way, it's something alive from something that's dead, actually. That was the crux of it, you know?
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Did I blab enough? Thank you.
That was pretty good blabbering.
Oh, it's my doggy. Show my doggy.
Snips. Oh, not interested.
No, not interested.
What a fantastic guy Jason is, and what an inspirational story of survival against all the odds, thanks to art and willpower. Now, if you're interested in drying your own flowers for your own personal projects, there's no greater expert on this field than Carolyn Dunbar, who's written books about the subject. Here she is.
Hello, my name's Carolyn Dunbar. I'm a planting designer and a botanical stylist, and I talk and write widely about the life-enhancing qualities of flowers. A few years ago, I started experimenting with drying my own flowers. It was something that I'd actually done quite a bit of as a child with my mother, drying flowers that she grew in her garden. And I realised about 4 or 5 years ago that dried flowers were making a bit of a comeback. I saw them appearing in homeware stores and interior shops and being used like this and in a large display that would last for a really long time in a restaurant or in a gallery. So I decided to have a go at drying flowers from my own garden, the flowers that I was growing anyway, to work out which varieties would dry well, which would keep their textures and their colours for a really long time, and which were the best methods for drying the different varieties. I think dried flowers have obviously made a massive comeback, partly because of the sustainable quality that they bring with them. You can reuse them for events, you can recycle them, you can put them away and bring them back out again. They bridge the gap between the seasons when, if you only really ever want to have locally grown seasonal flowers on display in your house and there's nothing available during the winter, it's really nice to create something that you know is going to last. And it's really not difficult. There's nothing technical about drying flowers. You can dry flowers that you buy from your florist shop or the farmer's market, or like me, you can dry flowers that you grow in your own garden. So it's a really good way, if you want to, of being able to work with dahlias, for example, at this time of the year. These are some dahlias that I dried from my garden last summer, which have kept their colour beautifully. And I also really like drying seed heads, because for me they actually represent the sort of cyclical power of nature. I find that since I've been doing this, it's really sort of deepened my connection with the natural world. I like looking at the whole cycle of a flower, seeing how the blooms develop and then the petals drop away, and you basically end up with this beautiful structure as a seed head. I actually think they look really nice just displayed like that. So for me, the cycle of drying has already started in my own garden. I've experimented with seasonal bulbs, tulips and daffodils, but haven't really had a huge amount of success with drying those because they're just too fleshy. However, I've just picked these euphorbia from my garden. They are a prime example of a flower that will dry really well because of the nature of their blooms. They're just made up of lots of individual florets. The hydrangea is another really good example, and they dry really, really well. So I've just picked 3 stems. You need to be careful with euphorbia because it's very sappy, and if you're prone to skin irritation, you must wear gloves when you're handling them. But I've basically stripped off the leaves from the lower part of the stems, and I'm just going to bind them with a reusable elastic band quite tightly, because as they dry the stems shrink a bit, and then I'm going to attach that to an S-hook, and then I can literally hang that probably in my airing cupboard, but actually in any space that's warm and dry, away from direct sunlight, and these will actually dry within a week, and you'll end up with something like this that's ready to use directly into a display or a hand-tied bunch, and will keep its texture and its colour for months, if not years.
Let me show you a few things I've done with dried flowers. There are a lot of things you can do with dried flowers, and of course they last for a long time. Part of the fun of drying flowers is growing them. And these gorgeous white flowers you see here is honesty, which will create the most gorgeous dried flowers that you can use in the autumn. An artist who elevates dried flowers and flowers generally into pure art is Rebecca Louise Law. Have a look at this little film about a project she did at Kew a few years ago.
I had the lucky experience of being taken around the herbarium and the economic botany collection at Kew. So much inspiration from these places. The most incredible was the Egyptian garlands that were from 1700 BC. I was blown away by the fact that a plant material could last that long and still be in archives. I was so inspired by how this material could last and what message that gave towards using plant material as an art material for a viewer to enjoy. Life in Death encompassed all of what I was trying to achieve within this installation. It was about looking at the Egyptian funeral garlands, which were obviously to do with death, and the fact that they had survived. And it was looking at my art practice, which is about using a material that is known to die and bringing life to it. So through preservation and care and a lot of love, every single flower could survive and be used as an art material. The main thing that I want the viewer to experience in this space is time. Having time to observe nature and to look at nature without it dying. Each installation that I create is about the viewer being completely enveloped and having a place to observe and appreciate what we're given on this earth. The collection of flowers here is my personal collection from over the last 10 years. I never let any flowers go to waste. As much as possible, I'll store and preserve and make sure that flowers are used again. There are grasses, grains, fungi, flowers, petals. It's a bit of an adventure coming into this space, and I hope that people will find all kinds of things that they haven't experienced or seen before.
There you go, that was it. That was my take on dead and dying flowers. I hope it's inspired you to look at dyed flowers from an artistic point of view. I hope so. We're gonna end with a video by Jason, the artist from the beginning of the show. It's another gorgeous take on dead and dying flowers, as you'll see. Leave your comments below, don't forget to subscribe, tell your friends, and come back soon. Can't wait to see you again. Bye! I'll do it again. And I don't need you standing right there either. No.
Tell me your lives of wisdom, master. I will put the kettle on.